I'm Brett Cooper, and this is the Frontline Mobility Edge, where we discuss the latest in mobile device technologies and how they're shaping the frontline landscape business. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Frontline Mobility Edge, brought to you by BlueFletch. I'm Brett Cooper, joined by Richard Makerson, and today we're going to be talking about MODEX 2026. So we spent the last couple days at MODEX. I want to do a quick recap of what we saw, what was different, what we learned. Before we hop into it, I'll do a quick overview. I made some notes of what we saw, and MODEX is, just to set the picture if you've never been, it's a conference in the Georgia World Conference Center in Atlanta. It's a sister conference at ProMat, which happens every year, and it's about 4 million square feet of 6,000 exhibitors showing some of the, I guess, everything you might find in a warehouse, manufacturing, or supply chain. So I made a quick list. I'll run through this in about 20 seconds, but things I saw: flooring, paint, signage, forklifts, racking, anything with loading bay ramps, doors, fans, casters, belts, motors, assembly lines, forklifts, hostlers, pallets, pallet jacks, robotic pallet jacks, trucks, toilets, ladders, seats, plastic wrap machines, robotic unloaders, robotic inspection dogs, robotic robots, inspection drones, printing solutions, RFID solutions, mobile devices, mobile scanners, safety gear, radios, walkie-talkies, camera technology, voice picking, light picking, auto sorting machines, software of every sort, so ERP, WMS, software companies like BlueFletch were there. So it is a just vast array of vendors. So, of the 6,000 vendors, there's probably, probably 10 of every type. So if you can't find what you want in one booth, you hop on to the next one, you'll see it.
Yep.
For this discussion, we wanted to cover the top 8 things we saw that were new or interesting to us. Richard and I each picked out 4. And so we'll hop into those. So your number 4, what was the number 4 item you called out?
So my number 4 item for MODEX 2026 was that the warehouse conversation has shifted from products to systems. So Brett listed out a litany of products, and normally you would go to that show and let me go see about forklifts. I need to see about casters. Let me talk to my WMS vendor. Let me talk to the safety vendor. Let me talk to this other ERP vendor. But more and more as, robotics, AI, software, mobility, scanning, safety converge. I think the winning vendors are really telling a story and not just selling tools. They are selling interoperability, but also orchestration. And so if you can't play in someone's system and play nicely, then you're going to have a hard time getting into the warehouse of the future, being a part of that supply chain of the future project.
I saw a good example of that with a robotic forklift company. So a forklift with no driver, it just had a robot, GPS antennas, cameras all over it. And I asked the guy how it actually goes to figure out what to pick. And he goes, we'll just tie into your WMS system, and you'll have your warehouse pre-mapped, and it'll go to the WMS and just take all the different pieces and put them together. Whereas in the past, it would be like, you need to create a custom map to go unload things. And it was definitely putting things together as systems is a big win for a lot of folks. For me, I think my number 4 learning was just talking to a lot of different warehouse managers and manufacturing managers that they all share the same problems, but they're vastly different. So the one warehouse may be in a different I'm going to call it a different level of maturity than somebody else. So a existing facility versus somebody who's building a brand new facility is going to have completely different problems to go solve, even though it's the same core problems they want to do. And I think from a technology perspective, the way to think about this is there is no one size fits all. You have to have products that meet the needs of your organization, specific to what you have. Like BlueFletch may not be a good fit for somebody looking for single sign-on. They may want to use a Sodi or Imprivata because they have a different set of requirements. But in other cases, BlueFletch may be perfect. And I think across all these different products you mentioned, there are different systems that work better for each other.
Did you have any thoughts around traditional warehousing versus supply chain that is either standalone or tied to a large retailer like a Lowe's or a Home Depot that has many distribution facilities?
I think even within that, it varies by the organization. So I talked to some food grocers, and they have completely different sets of requirements than some of the hard goods manufacturers I talk to that are selling paper-based products, and just even those two are so vastly different. I don't think there's any like one size fits all, which is another thing to think about too. Like when you have food, is cold storage, FSMA, expiration dates, but if you're storing paper towels, they can sit in a warehouse forever.
They can.
Yeah. So all right, you're number 3. What was your number 3 takeaway?
So AI is becoming a core piece of infrastructure. It's not generic hype anymore. It's embedded in workflow improvement, and so it's not. It's beyond table stakes to say I just have AI and I'm slapping AI on something, or I'm putting an agent on something, or having a chat bot in something. In these environments, a lot of times they're high risk, so safety plays a part of that. But also you have to be highly accurate because you're dealing with a lot of transactions, things happening all the time. When you think of, you buy something on Amazon, as soon as you click that button, things are happening somewhere in some facility to get that product to you. And so what I saw was that, AI in the warehouse is already, driving workflow conversations, and it feels almost like a win or sale behind you, or a bit of a superpower, meaning you're doing the same things, you're just doing them way more efficiently, or using less brain power, less Excel spreadsheets, because the AI is helping you get to the information that you need.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good call. And I love the fact that very few vendors had AI all over their marketing materials. It was just it's just a core piece of infrastructure now, which just makes me happy. I don't know why, but my number 3 is actually piggybacking on that a bit, which is vision technologies advancing. So, leveraging cameras for inspection, safety. There's a lot of things where the camera technology has gotten so good, the amount of data it can take in, and now you have the processing, you have the AI that sits on top of it. So you can do things like have drones that are actually doing a good job of taking inventory and shelves. You're putting cameras on these forklifts, and they're actually drive around safely, which, we've all been or you and I have been in a Waymo, which can be a little scary at times. And I feel like some of the self-driving things like Tesla are maybe better, but that technology is coming to the manufacturing and supply chain and warehouse space. And it's pretty neat. And I think you had another example you saw, just like LiDAR or some of the other pieces around that.
Yeah, we saw one company that had a piece of equipment that looked like the old Xbox Kinect, but it had LiDAR inside. And so it had millimeter level of accuracy of determining someone. And we were thinking, well, man, that'd be really cool for some of our biometric login, because now you get highly accurate data, but you also, if you have millimeter accuracy, you can't show up, work one day and then slip and fall and have like a black eye. You might be too accurate at that point. But no, it was just really cool because now you start to think about what you could do with this new piece of technology. Similar concept, but just updated technology.
I think one of the interesting ones I heard from warehouse manager on was, I asked him about RFID, and he's like, we're taking out RFID and just going to cameras, because it's, all of our boxes have labels. The camera technology can do a lot of the stuff that RFID actually can't do. If you forget an RFID tag or lose it, it's just gonna be missed. Whereas a camera is gonna pick up the box and say, you got 3 boxes on this rack that are, for this product, which I thought was a really interesting insight.
It's way more efficient to be accurate with a camera than RFID. RFID is great and it's magical when it works, but it can also be very noisy and messy if it's not set up properly, tuned properly, focused properly, especially in a warehouse environment.
Yeah, millions and millions of items on shelves. Your number 2, what do you want to cover this, the Frontline Mobility one?
Yeah, so Frontline Mobility is becoming smarter, more hands-free, and more strategic. And so just highlighting some of the mobility vendors that we saw there, from DataLogic, Honeywell, but definitely at the Zebra booth, showing off their WS devices, whether they're smaller scanners, so to make it easy to do picking, scanning things in the warehouse without having to have a a larger device, although the devices aren't as large as they used to be. But then also having those WS devices like good, better, best that could take voice commands and had the AI on the edge at those smaller devices to run through tasks, ask questions, to think about safety. And so mobility is still a thing. It was well represented, but it's definitely getting smaller. It's definitely getting smarter and more hands-free.
More strategic. I like that. Yeah, it's definitely, it goes back to the point earlier of there's a different solution that meets the needs of everybody. There's no one size fits all, whether it's when some people might need Zebra, Keyence, Honeywell, Data Logic. They all have different places where they probably will accelerate or work better versus others. So it's, run your POCs and do analysis there. My number 2 was, no shocker, robots are getting more powerful and more diverse. Mm-hmm. I think the first MODEX we saw robots at was like 8 or 10 years ago.
And they were juggling or bouncing a ping pong ball.
Yeah, the Boston Dynamics showed up and there were like 2 or 3 other booths of robots. I think every booth had a robot for specific tasks, whether it's picking things up, moving them off the lines, taking things in and out of trailers. There were some humanoid robots, not a ton of those. I think those are still a little bit further out, but the robot game has definitely stepped up.
Yeah, but I also push back and say how much is a humanoid robot needed in a true warehouse?
When Rick doesn't show up for work.
No, I think what companies like Tesla, with Optimus, they're doing is really, really cool. But when you think about a true warehouse, a true supply chain, and I'm moving either big boxes or pallets, your robots don't necessarily need arms and legs. They just need to be able to move equipment through a facility fast, safe, and accurate.
I think the one is super true. I think the robotic forklifts, a lot of stuff where you're taking an existing machine that's already built for a warehouse and putting it in there. I think a lot of warehouses are built for humans. So
Yep.
There's certain places where I think it may fit, but yeah, it's still nascent. Gonna be a couple years out. We'll see where it comes up. Your number 1 item you saw or learned about, I think the operational pains.
Yeah, so buyers are paying more attention to stubborn operational pain than flashy demos. And so I think that speaks to your robot point where our first MODEX maybe 4-6 years ago, where robots balancing ping pong balls.
Juggling robot. I forgot about the juggling robot.
Or walking through the crowd, but now they have them actually either unloading a truck. They're actually showing that operational workflow. And, buyers are really focused on return on friction. So if I do invest in this product or this solution, and these are truly investments because they are massive and complicated, that it's not creating another headache for me, meaning this thing is great, but when it jams or when it doesn't work, I can't run my business. And so, although we had what I would consider a flashy demo, it really spoke to a pain point when you think of transient workers in a warehouse. How do you drive operational efficiency, but also a device accountability? And so us leveraging agentic login to have this passwordless, passwordless, but a biometric registration with biometric login to show how easy it is to register, but also get to work with those mobile devices was, focusing on a pretty big pain point for some of these customers.
I still miss the juggling robot. My number 1 is actually probably a riff on that, but it's don't boil the ocean. So I was talking with a very, very tenured warehouse managers, run all parts of the warehouse, and his, I was asking him about his experience and what he's planning on doing based on his takeaway from MODEX, and he really distilled it down to there is so much improvement he could do in his warehouses, but he has a limited amount of capital to go apply to it. So really think about not boiling the ocean. Go pick the core problem that you can discreetly go and solve. Understand how the money is going to have an ROI. Go solve that. Increase that efficiency, and then from there, go solve the next set of problems. Don't try to boil the ocean. And what's the old saying about how do you eat an elephant?
Just one bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So I got a curveball question for you. Thinking about the couple of days we spent at MODEX, what would you gauge the ratio of flexibility versus throughput?
I think it depended on the people I talked with. I think some people, the way I say this is that there are organizations that are, like I said, in a different part of their journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have an existing warehouse and you try to change something, you have a lot more rigidity. You can break a process a lot quicker. So you don't want to mess up the existing throughput to bring in something new. I think that's really how I think about it. And there's probably some other sub pieces in there. What about you? What would you, if you had to answer that, what would you say?
I felt like the focus on flexibility and automation was very apparent, and that may be another way of saying AI without saying AI or robotics. I saw some throughput, but I saw less conveyor belts, less fast, whizzy moving, putting stickers and stamps on there, and more thinking about how do we do this smarter and better. I think the one thing that was kind of cool was the conveyor belt that sucked the box upside down. I don't know what problem that was solving, but it looked cool.
Yeah, I mean, the other, like he's describing, there's a lot of things that have like vacuum suction, so things can move around, and be in a different plane, which is it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of really cool things at MODEX 2026. I think there is a lot of focus on leveraging AI, leveraging newer technologies. Things are moving faster. I'm excited to see what happens at ProMat next year and the year after. Maybe we'll have some humanoid robots, or maybe the forklifts will just have taken over everything by then.
Transformers.
Transformers, awesome. Thank you for joining us today for this Frontline Mobility Edge. If you have questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us at BlueFletch.com. And we look forward to seeing you at a future MODEX or ProMat. Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the Frontline Mobility Edge. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe for more content every month. If you'd like to learn more about BlueFletch, check out the link in the description or visit us at BlueFletch.com. See you next time.